My first guest is a health and wellness expert and the author of The 100-Year Lifestyle. Dr. Eric Plasker joins us now from Atlanta. Welcome, Dr. Plasker.
Thank you so much, Tori.
Sure. So you did some calculating about how much time the average employee spends in a chair. And I know I'm afraid to hear the numbers, but hit us with them.
Well, Tori, the numbers are staggering. You know, when I did the research for the 100-Year Lifestyle, I was blown away that centenarians, or 100-year-old people, are one of the world's fastest-growing segments of the population. And because we're living longer, Tori, we're also working a lot longer. So if you could imagine that if somebody had a career from age 25 to 70, a 45-year career, and you spend 8 hours a day sitting in your chair, that's 15 years of your life that you're spending sitting in a chair. That's a lot of strain on your spine.
Sure, absolutely. And you say that it's doing a whole lot of damage, from impacting our posture and our spine, as you mentioned, to draining our energy. Sitting for prolonged periods even makes us lazy, cuts into our creativity. What are tell me a little bit about, what some of the results are of sitting so long.
Well, the results are staggering. In fact, according to the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports, that the United States will spend over the next 10 years $1.5 trillion treating ailments related to a sedentary lifestyle. And one of the things that happens to the spine, for example, Tori, if you could imagine that your spine is a stack of bones, one on top of the other, and these spaces in between are the discs. You know we've all heard about that herniated or slipped disc, right, Tori? And so what happens is the spine is designed to move. We were designed to be mobile. And so what happens when you sit for a living, you keep this structure that was built to move, and you keep it straight and locked up and down. So what happens is you tend to get an accumulation of swelling that puts pressure on the nerves that can cause all kinds of pain. We've all heard of the sciatic nerve pain that people get. Plus it can affect the nerve system and affect the organs as well. So being mobile is definitely the way to go, especially if you're going to be sitting over an extended period of time in your work. And really getting up is the best solution, and becoming mobile in everything that you do.
So let's talk about some of those specific solutions that you can offer. I know that you worked with a client who had a 75-minute commute each way to work. And after sitting in her car all of that time, she would then sit in her chair all day at her desk. So a lot of people, I think, can relate to that. What kind of advice did you give her? What did you tell her to do?
Well, and that's what a lot of people do, Tori. They go from one sitting place to another sitting place. They go from the car to the desk to the lunchroom back to their desk and the computer, and then they go out to dinner and sit again. And so what I suggest that you do is take a detour. If you're on a long commute, don't just go right to your desk. Get out of your car and go for a 15-minute walk before you just go and grab your coffee or your protein shake and go sit at your desk. So that mobility in between stretches out your spine and adds the flexibility that you need so that you don't get an accumulation of damage in your spine.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Sure. So let me ask you this. What about for the person who doesn't have a commute, the person who works from home? You have something that you call the 50-10 rule. What's that?
Yes, and for every 50 minutes, 50, that you spend in a chair, that you should spend at least 10 minutes where you're not in a chair, up and moving around, moving your body. And during this 10 minutes, there's a lot of different things you can do, Tori. One thing that you could do is go for a power walk, where you just go outside, get some fresh air, change your environment, and move your lower extremities, your legs and your hip, to create circulation inside of your lower back and your hip joints. Another thing that you could do is you could do swinging style exercises where you keep your feet planted on the ground, shoulder width apart, and just swing your hips. I'm trying to do it as I'm sitting in the chair. It's hard for my bottom to move, Tori,
You're doing
when I'm
all
talking
right.
to you. Okay, good. But that's what you do, and you can swing your hips, and it creates mobility in these joints after they've been locked up for such an extended period of time. And so creating that motion in between the times that you're sitting, 10 minutes of motion at least for every 50 minutes of sitting, is very important.
Makes sense. So tell me also, what about the way we sit? Does that matter? I know some people sit up very straight in their chairs, other people cross their legs, some even tuck a leg under their tush. Does that matter?
Yes, it does, Tori. Great question. In fact, we've all seen the older person, maybe it's grandma and grandpa, when they sit in their chair and they get really hunched over, or you look at them from the back and they're all bent and twisted over like this, and you call them from behind, and they'll turn around and they have to move their whole body because their spine actually has grown in a very misaligned way. the way you sit and the posture that you have day to day is very, very important, Tori. So one thing I would suggest is you do not want to be a crooked sitter or a sloucher. Now, we've all seen those crooked sitters where they take their foot and they put it under one of their legs, and so you can imagine what that does to your spine, twisting it. In fact, if you've ever taken a snapshot of yourself or seen yourself in a mirror, you could see how twisted up your spine is when you're sitting that way. You want to make sure that you have natural alignment when you're sitting so that your posture not only stays good when you're working, but it stays good over the course of your lifetime.
I'm sitting straighter just listening to you saying that. And finally, I know that, there are some things that we're accustomed to doing while sitting. It's just the way things are, like having meetings or surfing the internet. But you say that it doesn't really have to be that way.
No way. I mean, I think creativity for a lot of people, and I speak all over the country, and I was just in Prince William County, Virginia, and their Chamber of Commerce invited me to come in, and their Wellness Council is really doing a lot to promote a healthy workplace. And one of the things that we suggested there that they're going to adopt is this meeting on a move. Now, what that means is we all know that we go from our chairs and our desk, and then we go into a meeting and we sit down again. Well, have your meetings outside. Take them outside. Change your environment and enhance your creativity by being out in a different type of atmosphere.